In this video, I'd like to discuss the process printing product. Now within OOB, there is a sample product called Process Printing Bottle Sample. This is really just to show another format that this product can be used. The product, though, requires a good bit of setup in the list area and different part area of the system, so we highly recommend that the implementation department walk you through this process and adjust the list and part structure as needed for your specific needs of your company. Now, the process printing product can be used when you're needed to add multiple processes or even multiple substrates together for a finished product. Now, you do this by adding different layers of different processes and then combining them. So if we're looking at control, here's our example for bottles. Let's say you printed bottles. But you not only printed bottles, you hot stamped bottles, you printed labels and applied bottles, you may print directly to bottles, you do bottle caps. So there are a lot of different processes and different things that can be applied to this one bottle. In this case, if we open up the process printing product, the first thing we come to is the quantity, height, and width. And this can really is informational, and it sets the defaults for later, but doesn't really hold you in, because I understand bottles could be different, the label sizes could be different. So in this case, we're just going to say it's a 10 inches high bottle and 2 inches wide. We're just going to define the whole bottle. It could be just defining the label and the definition. Now, the definition is a text field, again, more informational, and this list can be edited to whatever you needed it to be. Could be widgets, could be bottles. In this case, we're going to do bottle printing. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a new piece. Let's say in this example, we need a couple different things done. We need 500 bottles. They need to be hot stamped in one location, such as the label in the front, and then the tag in the back needs to be printed and applied on paper. And then we need to print the bottle caps themselves. So you can see there's multiple different processes that are going to need to be applied. In this case, we're going to say the overall number of bottles is 500. And we're going to do one of these hot stamps per 500. So if I needed to stamp it in 2 different locations, that would be 2 per composite. Our hot stamp is only a 2 by 2.5 inch hot stamp, because it's going to go across the front with the nice logo on it. The piece is going to be bottles. And the process, now this is going to be direct bottle printing. We're going to hot stamp directly to the bottle, and therefore we're going to do direct bottle labeling. And what kind of bottles are we using? And again, this could be any set of inventory structure that's required for what your processes are and what your product needs are. In this case, we're going to do glass bottles, and we'll just say they're 12-ounce long necks. Using 1 each, there is no scrap. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and hot stamp these bottles. We're going to add hot stamping. And you can see I could also directly screen print to these bottles. I could do other options. I'm going to hot stamp it with a specific machine, different foils, and colors. And again, it could be whatever it needs to be. And a percentage of fill. So now I've come up with my function to go ahead and hot stamp these 500 bottles. That's my first piece and process complete. My next piece, I need to print the label for the back. So I'm going to add another piece. And in this case, the label is going to be 2 inches high by 1.5 inches wide. And the piece again is bottles. And this piece again is just a text field, and it could be bottles back label. The process here will be printed bottle labeling. The part type, again, it's defaulting to paper. Assume that's what we're using. And then the actual paper that we're using. In this case, it wants to know what we're doing, whether we're screen printing it, die cutting it, etc. It could be digitally printing. In this case, we're going to screen print these labels. I'm going to add screen printing. Add the press that I'm going to use, any particular screen, and again, this would be set up to the screens that you particularly use for your processes. If there's any dryer required, ink type, and ink color. And if it's a direct color match, or if you need more colors. So you can see there are multiple processes. If I needed to die cut it, so I'm going to screen print it, and then I'm going to die cut it, I can also do that. We'll say it's a stock die for this, any impressions, etc. that it's giving. And I could say the impressions on die are more, and that way it knows how many press cycles I need. If there's a new die, what those costs are. Okay, now you'll see that I've added both my examples of adding and then adding the back label. At this point, I could go in and add another one for bottle caps, another one for another process that would be required in this process of bottles. Now, the only options I haven't really applied are any miscellaneous hardware items that you may want to add. Now, again, it's defined as hardware depending on what your company would be. For assembly, this could be cases, box cases, if I was doing bottles. And then I could add a little assembly time to assemble all of these back together. We'll say it's going to take 3 more hours. The case bottles. Now, another function is to add this to finished inventory. Once I've completed this process, I can then add this back into inventory as completed bottles if I was going to only sell them a case at a time or ship them a case at a time or 500 cases, etc. Now again, we've been talking about bottles, but this can be used anytime a single product in the system doesn't really complete the entire need. These bottle labels I could have done in the digital print product or the screen print product, probably with a little easier use of input. But if I needed to hot stamp something, digital print something, apply the bottle caps to something, all within one entity, this would be an appropriate product. It does require more setup work to apply those list structures and options throughout the system, so we do recommend implementations, direction, and help in setting this system up. For further information, please review our other videos, including the one on setting up the process printing and contacting the implementation department. Thank you.